Hello YouTube, it's me Dejan here. I'm back with another weekly video about analyzing John. The first facts that I found in John chapter 5 when I was rereading it and studying it in depth was about Sheep's Gate or Sheep Gate was an historical entrance located on the northeast of Jerusalem's wall, primarily used for bringing sacrificial animals. It proved as a symbolic representation of the Jews' purification, and Jesus being there to heal the lame man made it even more wonderful and even more prophetic. This is found in John 5, verse 2. Secondly, Jesus withdrawing afterwards, after he heals the lame man, in John 5, verse 13, shows one of the many scenarios where Jesus had to escape the Jews later on throughout John. And also, you can find similarities of this in the story of David when he's trying to run away from Saul, and how the Jewish authorities were trying to kill him in Second Samuel, similar to how King Saul tried to kill David. Thirdly, my father has been working until now. I have been working. It showcases that God is always sustaining and maintaining their work alongside Jesus. Yes, I said there because it in Genesis it says, "Let us make man in our own image." This is found in John chapter 5, verse 17. And if you want for reproof, it's in Genesis chapter 1. Fourthly, the Son can do nothing of himself but what he sees the Father do. For whatever he does, the Son also does in like manner. This shows Christ's unity with God and shows a loving relationship between a father and a son, where the son mirrors the father. This is found in John chapter 5, verse 19 and 20. Further evidence of this is, Father raises the dead and gives life to them. Even so the Son gives life to whom he will. In John chapter 5, verse 21. This could be a foreshadowing of Lazarus' resurrection and the process of spiritual baptism, where the flesh, the old state, is being dead in order to resurrect the new one. The fifth fact, the most interesting one out of all of them, Jesus judges all, not the Father. Jesus says this directly in John 5, verse 22. And I find this interesting because many people say that Jesus isn't going to judge or doesn't judge. But Christ is literally the one who's going to judge us in the end times, especially of what we've done here on earth. Just like that, it's gone and eviscerated and answered. Another, in the following verse, the fact that I found from it was, we must honor the Son as they honor the Father, further clarifying the Jews' disdain and viewpoint of blasphemy. Because remember, the Jews were blinded as it was prophesied. So it makes sense that they think Jesus is blaspheming, but we know that he isn't. He who he who hears my word and believes in him who has sent me has everlasting life and avoids judgment. This ensures, but instead died and passed on to life. I forgot to read that part. This ensures us and simplifies the often very confusing path that is often poorly explained by the churches and certain teachers. Sometimes it's very easy. It's always the easiest paths that seem to be the most confusing. It's very hard because there's so many voices, but the Bible makes it supremely easy. And another fact is, the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, confirming what Paul, not the Paul, Paul and the other disciples preached later on, found in John 5, verse 25. This proves the disciples and that they're not just preaching random stuff. This is directly from Christ, and they're just confirming it. And Jesus is confirming their statement as witnesses, further adding to the point of them being correct and not false. Son to have in himself just like his Father in John chapter 5 verse 26 proves that Christ is divine like his Father, dismissing any argument about his divine nature, and proves that he is God incarnate. And also adds to the fact that just like how he sees the Father maintain and raise people from the dead, he also does it. By the way, the evidence for God resurrecting people, you can see Isaiah. You can see Isaiah doing it in Chronicles, if I'm not mistaken, and you can also find the disciples doing this immediately in the next book after, which is Acts. Not seek my own will, but the will of the Father. This is also repeated throughout John, showing that Christ doesn't do things for himself, but for the Father. And that's how we ought to be as well. I've had to learn that over and over, including with this channel. Amen and amen. I'm thankful for the opportunity. And finally, the longest notes that I made, and they're all relevant. It's found in John chapter 5, verse 31 through to 49. Jesus states that himself being his own witness would not be sufficient. This also follows with Jewish culture, because Jews don't believe one person's word. They have to have a minimum of 3 witnesses to prove the person to be correct. And basically, Jesus is saying that the Jews don't have God's message in their hearts, and so they won't believe him. And Jesus also is telling them that the lack of evidence that they quote unquote had didn't exist, because there's 4 different witnesses: himself, Moses, God the Father, and John the Baptist, and that they didn't believe him. And Jesus saying that they didn't have God's message in their heart was the reason as to why. The Moses, the one who had written the law for them to obey, is testifying against them, meaning that they don't follow Moses' law anymore, fully showing that they are blinded fully from the true Almighty Father, even though they think they're doing the right thing. Oftentimes, that's the case for most of us, including myself. All we can do is pray to God and ask for the clarity on our journey, and forever to be there with him forever in heaven. Amen. Amen. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It was actually a lot of fun reading through John chapter 5, especially many foreshadowing and signs that are proved throughout John and even throughout the Bible to prove what Jesus is saying and stating to be true. Amen and amen. Hopefully you guys may have a good night, morning, and even evening, wherever you are. Amen.